Okay, what's up? Let's do a quick sound check here. It's Monday, we're streaming, just testing this out. Okay, looks good. All right. So, I'm completely exhausted today, but I'm still going to stream and build this thing. If you ever thought, financial modeling and doing work in Excel is not exhausting, you do it for about 6 hours or 7 hours straight with no break, doing really complex stuff, and that has attention to the detail and make you think you're gonna be tired. So that's where I'm at. I know this isn't a comedy stream, but my wife asked me if I was oh, what did she say? I'm so tired. Uh, she said, "Am I starving, Marvin?" I said, "No, I'm tired, Terry." And I'm just tired today. I don't know. Hopefully I'll wake up. Maybe I'll wake up on the stream. I don't know. Uh, so anyway, welcome. I am Jason from smarthelping.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, don't forget to check out smarthelping.com. I've got over 100 financial models in all kinds of industries and for all kinds of use cases, joint venture, SaaS, accounting tools, real estate, organizational and Excel, Google Sheet stuff, sales pipeline, KPI, industry specific. Done some really cool stuff here with self storage, lending business, rental, e-commerce, ad network. Ad network's a big one. I thought it was going to be more popular, but it's not yet. But this is an interesting one, ad network. All kinds of stuff. So don't forget to check it out. Now, as you know, at the beginning of every stream, I'm doing a free template giveaway. You can pick any one template from here, and I have a random drawing. Basically, to get into it, you've had to have purchased at least one template and not unsubscribed from my quarterly mailing list. So right now there's 1,271 people in there. I've got them all labeled 1 to 1271, and the numbering stays the same. If you want to know what your number is, you can just email me because I'll tell you. Um, it'll never change, and so I do a random uh, use the rand between function every start of the stream, and you can see if you win. If your number comes up, I will put it here and I'll email you, um, obviously off the stream, and send that out. So let's do it. So Excel, or I mean Google Sheets, just needs to update every time I put something in here. So I'll hit this, hit enter, and then this will automatically, as soon as I hit enter, this is gonna create a random number between 1 and 1271. I'm gonna put it in there. If it's your number, I'll email you. The lower numbers are older people that have been in, like, bought things a long time ago, and higher numbers are more recent. 724. Okay, I'll put that in, and that's our drawing for the week. I'll email you. Um, Congratulations. Okay, so let me get set up here. So the bike shop model. I'm gonna do this from scratch, kind of off the cuff here. I'm gonna start from nothing, and this will probably take a couple weeks. After the bike shop model, I'm thinking about a vending machine model, and then after that, who knows? But we got at least two in the queue, so that's a good couple months, or at least a month and a half, probably of content. So don't and feel free to come in the stream. You could say, hey, you could suggest customizations to past work. That's cool. Uh, just let me know what you think about stuff or what you think you might want to see being built. All right, so bike shop. Uh, we'll start with the most complex thing, which is revenue assumptions. Or that's always going to be something that's going to have to be built from scratch. Uh, Cost assumptions. Try and make it simple. It's going to be monthly and annual 5-year forecast. I guess we could got to start with the control tab actually. And I usually will take, let me find a more recent model here. take some of the shell structures I have in every model and I will just paste those in because they're going to be the same, like timing assumptions and funding of the project and all that stuff. Okay. Let's get our color in here. And in all my models, light yellow is going to indicate an editable cell with blue text. Some of the earlier models just are light yellow with black text, but you can't go wrong with light yellow. Make these so I know to update them later. These aren't ready to be built yet. The rest of that's fine. What's up, viewer? How you doing today? We are very tired, personally, but I'm trying to push through here. Tell you, man, Excel work can be draining sometimes. So who knows? I'll have to really watch myself here, make sure I'm not making any errors. Right now I'm just doing some of the general timing assumptions. 1, 2, 3, 4. You go 2025 is a 5-year. What I'm doing here is just going to be my drop down source for all of the things that require a drop down. And then NA is going to be, actually this doesn't need to be, this is white. NA is there for a couple other things like exit month might not be applicable. In that case, you can put NA. So oh shoot, come on, here we go now. A161. Okay, good, that's formatted good. I need to format this. So you'll find Excel work is slow. It's kind of slow but fast because you have to have the more organized you are, the slower you go, but the more kind of methodical you are, and that's actually faster in the long run than trying to spit stuff out and then having to reformat, re-update, and then finally get to somewhere. After you do this enough times, you'll see that slower is always faster in Excel. All right, so we have drop downs, revenue assumptions. Now I'm trying to be in absolutely zero rush, trying to add as much value to the model as possible. One thing to understand with financial models is you're never going to make something that's perfectly tells the future. All a financial model is doing is saying, based on a certain set of assumptions, if those assumptions are true, then the resulting revenue, expenses, and cash flow are going to be X, Y, and Z. So it's heavily dependent on whatever the assumptions end up being, and it's never going to be perfect. What I try to do is make these as flexible as possible and have as much kind of miscellaneous fillers as possible. For example, on the expenses, I'll put in 5 or 6 or 5 or 10 slots that are allow you to enter costs as a direct percentage of revenue. So if something just you can't tie it out to exactly what you're trying to do, you can say, well, on average, what does this cost relative to revenue in a given year or a given point in time? And you can just enter that, label it, and enter that percentage, and now you've gotten closer to figuring out what that cost might be over time given a given revenue level. So let's see. A bike shop. I will just put this in here for now. Index tab. Fill that out later. So bike shop, it could be a motorcycle shop. Honestly, it could be all kinds of stuff. It could be like a bicycle shop. Um, the point is, you buy stuff, you put it in your store, and you sell it. That's the basic model. And so that's what we're doing here. Now, to do that, we need some assumptions, and we don't want to get too crazy, but we want to have some granularity. So first of all, we need timing. So this is going to be 5 years. We use this to define the first year. Which will be in the format YYY. Actually, we could do 4-year YYY. And then this is this. 12 to get the first month of the next year. Now, we want to fill out assumptions for all 5 years, and that allows you to change things over time if you think it's going to be more efficient, less efficient, or maybe the pricing might change over time. Uh, growth, however we end up defining growth, I don't know. We'll see. Let's give us some more columns here. Sorry, I'm eating right now. Okay, so how do we want to define revenue? In my mind, a bike shop is going to sell different types of bikes in different categories. So I think this is a pretty straightforward where we can say so we're gonna have a couple different columns. We'll say uh, let's start with bike categories, and you've got category 1, and that has bike type 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you'll put averages for different things for that. So this is editable. These are all editable. So category 1, we'll do 3. So let's say these are like mountain bikes, just for an example. These could be electric bikes, and these could be I don't know, like kids bikes. And I'm gonna take a little bit. Let's do four categories, and then this could be like some mountain bikes, electric, kids, uh, other. Now, what do we want to define about expected sales of the bikes? So let me mess up with line styles. So obviously the sell price and the cost we have to figure out. And we're going to do that. And we'll have dynamic logic for your starting inventory against how often that inventory is then purchased, because that your it's likely that your inventory, you have to purchase what you're going to sell a couple months in advance. It's usually not the same month, but it might be, and you could account for that if you need to. So, excuse me one second, I'm in the middle of eating too. Um, so we're going to define, let's see, we want this up here. We've got four categories of bikes. We want to give an easy way to forecast, but also make it flexible. So, in my opinion, the best way here is we add another column. And man, I've got horrible heartburn. I don't even know why. This is horrible right now. It's just a Monday, people. Mondays are rough. This is going to be starting monthly sales. So you can say, well, and actually we have to also do a start month, because you might not want to start selling a given line of bikes until sometime in the future. So we want the month it starts, and then on that month, how much your expected sales per month you think you're going to have, and then how much is that going to grow per month in each of the 5 years. Now, this is a little bit better than just, so some of the other um, ways you could do it is just put, what are my monthly sales in this year, and this year, and this year, and this year. But that doesn't really capture the growth if you think you're going to start with X sales and then the next month do a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and get granular on the monthly level. So these are all going to be percentages. Just put 3% compounding average growth rate here. This is just filler data, and if you know or don't, um, all the assumptions and all the templates they do are arbitrary. So when you go in to fill it out, you got to research all that and see what makes sense for your situation. And the job of the template is then to make sure what is entered is accurate based on the math applied to the assumptions. And essentially, that's how I've made a living the last 6 years. And it's been great. But today, like I said at the beginning of the stream, I am completely exhausted. But it's a good exhaustion. So we're trying to push through here on stream today. We'll do it actually a granular for every bike type as well, not just the category, for the ultimate flexibility here. Now with Excel, it's kind of nice because you can drag stuff. You can drag validation down. I'll just put all these at the same monthly schedule here. All right. So I like how we're coming along. Try not to rush anything and just go slow. At the end of the day, we'll have a nice model. All right. So let's say, I don't know, 25 sales a month for these, 10 a month for these, 35 a month, and 4. And they're going to grow at all these different rates. This is the year. We're also going to need to have numbered years for the index formulas. So, and on that, we'll just do year and then the number sign. These will just be, I'm going to change this just to have the year. All right. Well, so we're still missing some stuff. Let's give this a thick bottom border. So we have sales and its growth of that, but we're gonna make, money every time we sell a bike. So what I'm gonna do, and it might be that your prices could be the same, the whole for the whole forecast, like for a given bike type, but it could be different in that at the beginning you might be selling one more of a certain more expensive type of bike type one, and then you start to sell more and more. Maybe you sell more of the least expensive, so the average sales per bike for a given bike type could change in that aspect. But there's all kinds of reasons. So what we gotta do is have another schedule here for 1 through 5 for the year, and label this average selling price per bike. And this is going to, there's no reason to put sales tax because if we put sales tax in here, then we just have to take it right back out as an expense. So um, this is pre-sales tax. So whatever price yours is, let's say it's $100, it's not including sales tax if you have one. So the customer might be paying a little bit more if it's 6% or 5% or whatever, but that's not, because in the model we want to know in the business what kind of revenues the business is going to collect and what expenses, and adding a tax and then reducing the same thing out it's not helpful for what we're doing here. All right. We probably don't need decimals for this. Numbers are going to be in the hundreds usually. Now, if you didn't know, let's say I did put a decimal in here like $1.50. Excel will, if you only have one decimal or no decimal showing, it says 2 here. However, if I do, let's say equals this times 3, it's 450 because it is still seeing the $1.50 in there. And if you want to format it, you can just highlight it and then click the little thing down here. See this ribbon, this little arrow. You could do currency and do as many decimal places you want if you want to change it. This could also be an online bike shop. It doesn't have to necessarily be a brick and mortar, but all the same logic applies. Now, one thing that's Um, by doing a percentage change here for all these, there's no way to just do a quick calculation to figure out the expected annual sales. I have to show it by month for every category. So that's going to all be its separate in the pro forma detail, monthly and annual. That's all going to be, each one's going to have a separate row. And some bikes can be expensive. We'll do it like a 3,500 here. If it was an online like distribution thing where you were making all your sales online, you'd probably just have a couple other like website costs, which will be able to be accounted for in the OpEx easily. And then maybe you don't have rent, uh, and or you probably have storage. But anyway, either way, you'll have enough assumptions to account for selling bikes however you're going to sell them. Like shipping, I'll do a I'll do a logical thing here that says the percentage of all bikes that are shipped. Because let's say you have a bike shop in Colorado, and you also, well, you want it, you're specific. You have a unique set of bikes, and you have an online site, and people in Ohio want to buy them. Well, you're going to have to ship them. You want to make that money or make, as much sales as you can. You don't want to limit yourself. So we'll say a percentage of all sales that are shipped versus sold directly in the store, which will affect some of the costs. All right, where was I here? We'll make all these freeze. We can scroll up and over. Um, Now, what else do we need here? Probably give this an underline and a little gray. Now, nowhere do I say what. Okay, let's put this year up here. You always got to think about users trying to use this who don't know what's going on. So this is average monthly growth of sales. Average selling price. So let's think, any other specific revenue things we need to do? I guess not. We're just going to do percentage of sales requiring shipment. It's probably the best way to put it. Percentage of sales requiring shipment. And then, I guess that's probably definitely something that could be strategy and could change over time. So let's say it starts at 5% and goes up by 5% each year. Or that's going to be dependent on your business plan and what you like. Put a bottom border. It'll be up to your strategy. Could be 0% too. And then now we got to do costs. So if this is the selling price, there's a couple different ways to do it. And I'm sure there's different margins for different types of bikes, so we have to do it granular by type. Now the good thing is that probably is not going to change. So we can do one column here that says expected margin or markup and back into the cost. So I'll show you here. So if this is $165, and the markup is, let's say 40%, then what it actually cost is, I want to think about this for a second. Uh, so expected markup, and then the resulting, which will define our cost of goods sold in inventory purchase logic. Cost basis per bike. So if something's 40% marked up, what does it actually cost if the price is 165 is the question we're trying to answer. So I believe, let's think about this. If we did 1 minus the rate, 60 divided by the amount, and actually this logic I'm doing here, oh, that's not right. We're going to have to do this math on the pro forma, but I just want to do it for 1 year. The percentage can be applied to all these dynamically in the model, but I'm going to show cost. This is going to be year 1 only. Okay, so that was not correct. 1 minus that divided by, how is 0.6? Oh wait, let's go the other way. M7. Sometimes I know the math that needs to be done. I just don't know exactly the order if I don't do it a lot. All right, so 270. Oh, no. Okay, so we did the opposite. So that, okay, so we want a number lower than 165. Let's try, no. So if we're marking up this, hey, what's going on, viewers? Trying to do some math here, and I'm freaking burnt out today. It's Monday. I am trying my best to put something out here. So if average selling price of a bike is $165 and the markup's 40%, keep in mind the selling price. What's the cost? It's the question we're trying to figure out. So it's something less than, it has to be less than 165. So what number is marked up by 40% to get to 165? Is it just 1 minus the rate times the amount? $99? Let's see, if we time this by 40% plus this, 138, so that's not correct. But now we have a checker, so whatever, we need this number to equal 165. Let's see, let's try to do another math here. Let's just try the amount, the rate times the amount. Oh, that's definitely not right. Well, this was closer. So 60%. I know there's a way, there's 100% a way to do this. So let's say if my cost is 100, I mark it up. This is a basic algebra problem. I mark it up by 40%. It's 140 bucks. Now the question is, by knowing the 40% and the 140, how do I get back to 100? That's the trick. Now it has to be possible because it's a multiplication. So we're doing, you know, the cost times 1 plus the rate, or 1.4 in this case. Now, how do we take 1.4 and 140 and get back to 100? Man, this is freaking... There's got to be a way. I don't know what the math is, so This, let me see, this divided by 1.4. Ah, you divide by 1 plus the rate. Okay, yeah, that actually makes sense. Okay, so we take the amount, and that's going to be divided by 1 plus the rate here. What? Oh, rate's over here. So $118 is the answer. And obviously we're going to double check that. So if it's $118 cost, I mark that up 40%. That's a $47 markup, giving a total sell price of the cost plus the markup, 165. And this, let's say it's 275. Now my cost is 196, markup is $78. So this is a pretty important number here. And I'm not showing it for all 5 years because it's just redundant, really. But you can just at least see the math here, and um, the sell price divided by 1 plus the markup will be used to figure out um, the cost of goods sold for all these. And then we'll have like total revenue, total cost of goods sold, and then that one minus the other is going to be the gross profit. So that's what your main profit is going to be based on, is the margin between the cost of the bikes and what you sell them for, which makes sense. The other thing we're going to have to do is account for um, service. So that's a little bit different. So here we have, and this other could be parts as well, like bike parts and accessories. These don't all have to be just bikes. Um, but the idea is you have optionality here, and you can put averages for different categories. Like this could be all bikes, this could be accessories, um, and whatever. You could structure it however you want, but it's flexible enough, the inputs, to handle a lot of different use cases here. All right. So we have our revenue assumptions for bike sales and the cost. I now need service. So all places, even like an auto repair shop, a bike shop, motorcycle bike shop, a bicycle shop, they all do repairs. So that's going to be a difference of, well, there's a lot of things there. You've got parts plus labor. So parts and labor are going to be your cost, and obviously whatever you charge, whatever your labor rate is, times that, it's going to be your revenue for this. So uh, service, parts and service. Now I'm going to get a little high level on these because it's just going to be hard to know exactly, but we can say um, it probably could be a function of sales. I'm thinking, like if you sold, 10 bikes in a month versus 100 bikes in a month, the amount of service work you're going to be doing is probably going to be different. The question is, what is that multiple? And I'm not sure, but we just can build logic for it because that's all we're trying to do here. Uh, Now the start month for service and parts is just going to be 1. We don't need to do it different for each one of these. Um, Now, so I'm trying to think of the best way to do this, because either we could just say what's the revenue, what's the average margin on service, and then that just accounts for labor and parts. Or we could try to go bottoms up and say, well, how many laborers are you going to have working, what's their salaries, and etc. And then how many hours of work are going to be happening. So there's a couple different ways here that this can happen. I'm just trying to think of the best quick thing to just account, because we need to account for this revenue source, but it doesn't have to be like super granular. Hmm. Well, let's look something up. By the way, the winner of the free template today was number 724. You'll be getting an email if you won. Um, Average repairs per bike sold. I don't know if this is even going to exist. So there's all kinds of different stuff here. I guess let's just take a really common sense approach and just assume we'll just do so. This is just going to be repairs done per month. And it's going to be a hard-coded number based on whatever you think, based on whoever you're going to hire. So we're going to have in the OpEx, we'll have like logic for how many different labor workers you have over time. That can all be defined. And a bike shop, it's not going to be many. Like every bike shop I've been to might have had one or two ever total. If you've got a bunch of bike shops, then it's different. But for one, it's not going to be that big of a deal, I don't think. So we can just say, how many repair slash service work per month, and we'll do average. Okay, so here we go. This is perfect. And then we'll do average total revenue per repaired serviced transaction. Now that's probably the easiest way to do it is say, okay, I'm going to have 25 repairs a month or service work a month. And on average, the average ticket amount for that's going to be, well, you saw this, the Google thing, it's like $65 or so. It's not going to be that much. Now, if it was a motorbike or, motorcycle, the number is probably higher, but it's still the same logic, I believe. You just would have a higher price per transaction to work on a motorcycle than a bike. So, uh, and we have different service types. So service type 1, you can do up to 1, 2, 5 here. And we have a start month for these. And then you could define the amount per month. It might change over time as your sales grow. Now, the thing with sales is, well, I guess if you're doing online distribution, there's there's a cap, but it's not like it's a matter of how many buttons you can press. I guess if you made a lot of sales, or who you have to hire to press those buttons to process the shipping and the paperwork and all that. Or if it's automated, then honestly, it's just however much your manufacturer, whoever your supply is getting them. Um, Also, we can't really do seasonality here with these assumptions. We just have to assume a percentage growth over time. And then seasonality, it's important in the beginning, kind of because you have cash flows that, if you're going to start in January, and then most of your sales don't happen until the summer. Then those first 3 or 4 months, you might not have as many sales. But on the other side of the coin, if you're just a starting bike shop and seasonality is less impactful to your expected sales than just the growth of the business, then seasonality doesn't matter at that point because you're growing into that. So it's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna be as relevant. So we're not doing seasonality here. We're just saying starting whenever your start month is that you start to sell a given bike type, you got the total monthly sales expected at the start, and then percentage of those grow over time. And then you can go, like you can adjust the numbers here, and then the pro forma is going to be built and show you like how many bikes you're going to be selling in a given year, and you can adjust these percentages to get numbers that you think are going to fit, uh, what you expect to do in business. We're also going to do, in the OpEx there'll be assumptions for ads, marketing, sales marketing, um, salesmen, which will just be a base salary. And if you think they'll get some commission, then you can work that into the salary. Also, payroll taxes and benefits, you'll be entering that total in the salaries for those people as well. I'm not doing a separate schedule for payroll taxes. And so if they made $5,000 a month, well, you need to add payroll tax and all that. So maybe it's, total cost to the company is like 7 or 8 thousand a month. It'll depend based on a whole bunch of different factors, but you'll be able to manipulate the assumptions so it fits a wide range of uses. All right, so you can see this is always the most difficult part, and then the rest is just building the formulas. But this part here, figuring out direct or revenues and direct costs related to that, is always the hardest. We have sales bikes, we have service revenue, we have potentially accounting for shipping costs. We'll do those on the cost assumptions. I'll give it a little space here. I'm trying to think if I have any other revenue stuff that we need to do before we go into the monthly P&L detail. Now this will follow another format that I always have, which is up here. And the start month is always going to be whatever was entered, or start year essentially. Now for coloring, I kind of try to keep everything light gray nowadays, so it's not really exciting, but it's just straightforward and not like, it's just simple. Go out to 2025. Oh, almost got it perfect. Now the whole idea of why I got into financial modeling is I always loved building stuff, and I always was really good at math and logic. So, perfect fit. Now, little did I know, my parents were blue collar laborers, so I had no way of knowing this type of work was even possible at the time. I just knew to go to school for accounting. And it took me 5 or 6 years to get to, I did some accounting jobs, I did some other stuff, and then I realized, wait a second, there's a business here I can do, and it will help people. And I realized financial modeling gives me the freedom, fulfills, I like to do math stuff, I like to build, fulfills that. and I can work at my own pace and do whatever I want. So I've got full autonomy. And to me, that's really important because essentially I could do this anywhere in the world as long as there's an internet connection and Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets. That's all that's needed. And there's plenty of people that need these services. Literally an unlimited amount of work. Like if I wanted to, I could work 50 hours a week or 5 hours. Okay. Uh, did I miss anything? So revenue, we got, this is not parts. This is just service, repairs and service. Parts could potentially be, let's say this is other. So parts, accessories. I think this is good. So now for the first bit of fun, let's do our revenue. Now revenue, I like to just do a black highlight with white text and then say, oh shoot, why isn't that copying? And this will be directly referencing this, so you don't have to adjust it when you adjust it on the assumptions. And it's always a trick to know what's the best automation level versus like allows users to update things and change things. And usually I found that is naming of things is done on the assumptions tab, like names of categories and all the assumptions from the metrics. And then on the monthly P&L, those can all be referenced here. And so you don't have to retype anything in twice. So the key is that you eliminate redundancy. Um, Now, we're going to have to do a couple things. So first we need to know the sales per month. I think it's important to break that out. So we're going to have sales per month as one set, and we're going to keep these grouped together at first. Now, because I have years here and here, I can't just index the entire row, or else I'm going to get the wrong numbers. So I have to index this only. Match, and I've done this enough, I know the years in E2 on the monthly. So I'm matching the year to this array, comma 0. So that's going to give me my percentage dynamically per year. To lock this and this, but we'll let the numbers not be locked because when we drag the formula down, it'll go right in order. Index match is the best because it won't break if a user starts adding rows and stuff. Now you have to redrag the formulas here down, but for whatever reason, if someone inserts rows for something else that's unrelated, but now it would be off if you had HLOOKUP. So I never use HLOOKUP anymore. I use index match, and it's just better. Make sure this is working. So I'll do like 3, 2, 1. And remember, this is a compounding growth rate. So you'll get, I mean, it's not going to be a high number for all 5 years. It's impossible. That'd be like, going from 25 to like 100,000. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at changing those. So 3, 2, okay, we gotta zoom out. So that looks good. Let's, right, so now this is important. So we had to off center this. So we go down here. The zeros should be in the rows with the naming. So like mountain bikes, electric bikes. So that's correct. And also, what do we want to test? Let's see. What if these are like 5? These are 1. I just want to make sure that these are all different. And it's just a quick check to make sure my formulas are right. So 3, 5, 1, 4, 3. Yep. 2, 2. Okay, looks good. So we know the percentages are working. We now, so that's a reference that we have to have, but there's a lot more we got going on. So we have to know the starting byte count. If this date here equals the date on the start month, then we want to pull the starting monthly sales, whatever that might be. Otherwise, if E4 is greater than this, then we do the percentage, which we already have, and we'll actually do 1 plus the percentage to reduce a little bit of redundancy. One plus the percentage times the previous month sales. And that gives you your compounded growth there. I think that's accurate. Hopefully, we'll see. So this has to be locked. The letter. This has to be locked. That's the starting amount. So this is checking the date. If it's the date, then do the starting amount. Otherwise, lock E4. We got lock E4 here too. It's greater than this. Lock that. Date. And we did that and that. Okay. So this is just a number, and then we'll do another revenue. We'll do actual revenue. We can simply look up this number, reference this number, multiplied by whatever the sell price per bike is. We got to do 0. So value if false is 0. There we go. We can do this, and I can just copy. This will be real easy. Oh. And then this is drug over. And now we have expected total unit sales per month per bike type. And I don't know, do we need to do subtotals? Yeah, probably. So for subtotals, we'll do equals total, and we can reference that dynamically. Total mountain bike sold. And it'll just be a top and bottom light gray for this. And I'm sure we're going to need... Oh, what did it just do? I think it tried to guess. Alright, that was not correct, Excel. Probably bold. Nah, we don't need to bold it. And we just do that for all these other ones. So simply, we'll copy and paste this. Man, I am so tired right now. Okay. And simple as that. I don't know if we want to put grid lines in all these. I think I'm going to remove the grid lines. And then we could do total sales here, down here. Total sales number. Simply add up all of these. And now that can be bold because it's a aggregate subtotal. All right, this looks great. And when you're modeling it, you can go look at here and see, well, does it make sense based on my growth? Is it possible to sell that many bikes, or do I need to lower my growth expectations? Now, looks like our formulas are working for when things start. Let's try to change these up a little bit. Just make sure we're getting the right references. Perfect. Okay, yep. September, May. Yeah, good. And there you have it. So now we do, so revenue is going to be consistent of, we need to know the bike, the sales. We're going to group this all as one thing so you can hide it if you want. And just see total sales or that. And then the next thing we do, and we had to do it, but now that we have subtotals in here, the formula's not going to be perfect, but it's okay. We'll have to do each section independently. Now this will be fine. We can get this formatting. So what I want to do is, okay, I sell this many bikes times, what's the price? Well, let's pull the price up here. It's going to be this over time per bike. Double comma, match E2, I think it is, with the year number 0. Yeah, 2 is the year. And honestly, I like this other format. Round up month divided by 12. It's a little bit more efficient in case you had a start month at, well, it's just more efficient to do it this way. That's fine. Okay. So here's my revenue. And it's very important to, when you're starting anything to figure out, well, if everything is perfect, you know, what can the business look like? And then you start to say, well, what if sales are only this or that? And that's where the modeling becomes very valuable. Okay, so this cannot move. This needs to be a currency format. And so this is revenue per type, total revenue of that cohort. Now here, I can't just copy and paste this down. I have to go back and look at bike type 1 for electric bikes. That's in row 12. So 12 is, I'm one off, so this needs to be 12. Which makes sense because I've put in an extra subtotal row. Otherwise, it'd be perfectly fine, and I wouldn't have to do that. Okay, next one. And remember, we want kids' bikes. I made the kid bikes more expensive. But these are meaningless numbers here. Just as long as the math works, that's all that matters. You'll put in whatever numbers make sense for you. All right, 18. Final one. So 24, yep, 24. And financial modeling is interesting to me. And some people think, I've been asked, why do you do streams? Then you're going to give out all your secrets. And it's like, well, there's a lot of reasons. Number one, the value that I provide is, yes, I have a lot of clever logic for lots of stuff, but even it's two parts. One, you have to know how to apply the logic, and it's different for every single business. And two, it takes time. Like even everything I know and all the shortcuts and just efficiencies, it still takes a long time and effort to build these things. So you can get a good jump start by starting with a template that has already reached, done so much of the heavy lifting already. For one time, my fees are between usually 45, 75, 125, or 175. Mostly everything's either 45, some stuff 75. But this will be a $45 template. And the amount of value there I feel like is immense. And anyone who values their time knows that's really important to you spend $45 to save, 6 hours of your time. That's if you're billing out or your time's worth 100, $200, $300 an hour, well, it just makes sense. All right, are these the same? Yep. Okay, so we got total sales, total sales revenue. So pretty good jump here today. We've gone an hour and 10 minutes. I'm gonna probably keep going a little bit. Let's get so I've accounted for all of this here. we now have to do repairs, which will be easy. So revenue, we're still on revenue, but now we're going to do this is going to be repairs and service. Oh, we need to change this to total mountain bike. Well, it's going to have an S, but that's okay. Total mountain bikes revenue. Total repairs and service sold. So here we do, so if this is greater or less than the start month of repairs and service, then 0. Otherwise, we're going to index this based on E2, the year, and 0. Now, I'm thinking about this. Yeah, so this is just, so here's the thing. This is essentially just showing labor revenue. And then the cost side of that's going to be workers' compensation, like how many laborers you have and what you're paying them. And then any parts and accessories revenue would not even be accounted for here. It would be accounted for in this, like say this other section, anything that you sell. And I think that makes the most sense. And it is the most logical way to model this. All right, E2 is locked. This is locked. That's locked. And only the letters are locked on that one. Now, we also want to times by the revenue per item. I'm going to do all this in one go here. So we're going to go times index, whatever the revenue is for that given year per item on average. Match E2 with this. I'm at 0. And honestly, since the ranges are the same length, I could just reference this and it would, well, I don't know if that would work. Never mind. Forget that. Forget what I just said. All right, so times index that, match, lock this, and then I think we're good. So we might actually get all the way down to current revenue here, or total revenue, I mean. So we got sales revenue, we got revenue from repairs and service. Let's make sure this is working, so I'll change some numbers here. First, make sure those are all different. So what's going on? Oh, for year one it was the same. Let's make them. Okay, so that's fine. Leave year one the same. So year two, all right, they're all different. That's good. Let's check. So 2400 for year two for service type 5. That would be 40 times 60. Okay, let's leave that there. So 2400. Now let's change some of these. $4,000 now. And that's 4,000, so that's good. Move it up 1,500. 8, 450, perfect. Alrighty. We have, now we're going to do top and thick bottom, or double bottom, for total revenue. And we have now accounted for all revenue items. Double bottom. Okay, so these have been checked. That's good. These all make sense. So we've got total revenue. Let's lock or hide these if we wanted. So if we really wanted to see just the high level, you could see sales number, total sales. Oh, we could do average average revenue per unit, which is kind of a nice add-on calc. So we'll do average revenue per unit sold equals total revenue divided by total sales. Now that should be higher. I'm trying to see, why is this going down? Oh, I guess the units, more sales are happening at different times. So based on these coming online, yeah, that makes sense. That's fine. All right. Well, we've got all the revenue, we've got sales, all this stuff. Now next, the big thing, and I don't know if I want to get into this, is the cost. Oh man. I mean, I could actually hour 20 minutes. Let's see if we could do the cost of goods sold here. So how do we want to do this? We already have the amount. We just need to essentially replicate this, but it's going to be a cost. Let's copy this. And now we have costs. So this is actually going to be cost of goods sold. And sometimes cost of goods sold is not clear. In this case, it is amazingly clear because you're selling a bike. So it has a cost and amount that you're selling them for. And we'll change revenue to cost of goods sold. what's the math? So we really just care about this number up here times, we don't need to worry about the timing because it's already accounted for here. We just need to know the cost per unit in the given year. So take the units sold times, oh, what's that logic we're doing? The markup. Actually, this is a really simple calculation. And we will differentiate in the future and later in the model to show cash flow versus cost of goods sold, since obviously you may be buying inventory ahead of time. So in the cash flow, you would reduce the cost of goods sold out and then add in the purchase amount for a given month. All right, E8 times, let's see if I can remember this. How do we get from 165 to 118? I did 165. Was it divided by 1.4? Can't remember. Let's see. 1 plus this. And this S would be locked. We want 118. Oh, no. All right, what was the math? Wait, it was the cost or the selling price divided by 1 plus the rate. Isn't that what I did? Oh, it's because 0 here. Okay, hold on. So that's fine. 18. Oh, what am I doing here? Hold on. So we don't need to know this number. We need to know the total revenue and then the margin on that type. So we take the revenue. And a quick check on that, we could just do 1 here for the start month and make sure, and we'll do a different margin for each of these, 50, 60, 30, 25, 30. So these numbers are what I should be seeing for the first month of each of these. Let's see if that's the case. So yep, that's right. 110, yep. 103, yep. 132, yep. 126, yep. And then it grows from there because you're selling more units over time based on the percentage growth. Alrighty. Cost, let's go with, check this down, but we want 12. So same thing, we're off by 1, makes sense. 18. And 24. Now, there's our cost of goods sold. I'm not going to calculate a gross margin per bike type or a subcategory. We're just going to say So here's the revenue. We're going to say total cost of goods sold. This plus this plus this plus this. And then gross profit. And we'll definitely do a gross profit margin as well. Is simply the total revenue here minus the total cost of goods sold. This is definitely a top and double bottom port number. And then gross, this, if error, take gross profit divided by the revenue to get the margin there. Oh. We'll give that a little italicized. Drag all this over. So there we have it, gross margins. Now, some may argue shipping is part of cost of goods sold. I'm going to do that as a G&A separate item. The main thing is it's at least it's being accounted for somewhere. So this is pretty good so far. We got revenues, cost of goods sold, all the way down to gross profit. Pretty happy with the progress here. The rest is essentially just a matter of there might be some complexities in doing the cost, but not too bad, I don't think. Like we'll take into account this percentage to ship stuff, percentage that needs shipment, and the average shipment cost, and then that'll just basically say, well, let's think about this. Yeah, we could do it just a percentage. So let's say for bike type 1, there's 10 bikes sold. We'll say, if 10% of those were to be, if this number were 10%, it means one bike would be shipped and 9 would be sold in store. And the only reason that matters is because then we'd say, well, the revenue is still the same, either if it's shipped or whatever, still the revenue is the same, but that one now has a shipping cost. Now, if your bike shop puts the shipping costs on the buyer, then it's just 0. And this doesn't matter, and you could put 0% for all these. I'll put a note on this. If shipping costs are passed on to the buyer, then just put 0% for this. Otherwise, you can put it in there. Now, let's say, yeah, that makes sense. Now, the other side of it, let's say you're a bike shop and you have to order things into the shop and then you just sell them for some price, and that's the price people pay. Obviously, they're not going to be paying shipping if they come pick it up, but you have to pay shipping to get the bike to your store. So that should be factored into what you're selling the bikes for. But no matter what, if that you have to buy your bikes from somewhere. I mean, it's not really an option. Um, you're gonna have freight costs. So unless your supplier doesn't, I guess, so I guess your supplier might not charge you freight costs, but let's say they do, um, you're gonna have, and we'll do that on the cost assumptions. You're gonna have to account for basically, I'm trying to think of the best way to model it. Probably the number of every time you do a big purchase, like if you do it every month, then it's just monthly. Um, and it's just going to be a percentage of the total cost. So we'll have total cost of goods sold here, and based on that, let's say you order 3 months in advance, so you're paying $354,000 to buy all these bikes that you're going to sell. Well, if you buy them like in 1 month ahead of time, so you're all ready for these 3 months, you may have a freight cost here of some percentage of this total. Or you could define every time you're ordering something, you can do um, a fixed cost, like let's say $5,000 every time you make a purchase instead of a percentage. That probably makes more sense, actually, just a fixed freight cost because you're probably not ordering one bike at a time. Um, you're doing it in shipments, and so we'll just, I mean, let's say some you might do a couple shipments in a given month. Then in that case, we could just say, okay, number of shipments per month, cost per shipment, and simple. But what if you're buying things in 3 months in advance? So it's one shipment every 3 months, right? So every 3 months, and that costs, let's say, $5,000. I believe I believe that's fine. And if it were like once a month, you could just put, and actually in that 1 month, you're going to do like three shipping or three orders of bikes, then you could do just triple the cost. If it's like, let's say $1,000 for each batch and you do three a month, then you'll do a purchase every month and you'll do $3,000 in shipping. So I think we'll get into that logic next week. This is a good stopping point. We've got all the revenue taken care of. We'll do percent. Now that well, so so I know we definitely do something on the supply side. I'm trying to think if this makes sense on the sell side, or do I just assume that if a bike shop is shipping a bike, they're just going to pass that whole cost on to the consumer, and it doesn't matter, you know? Like, is there, or I mean, I guess postage, there could be potentially very small costs depending on the total amount of bike revenue that's coming from shipping things across the country. And so we could say if there's 10 of these bikes, 10%, one shipped in the month, and on average, the cost, we don't want to do a cost per bike. The percentage of total cost that, like, let's say this is costing $118 a bike here. Maybe you have to pay an extra 2%. So you'd have 2%. We've got the percent of sales requiring shipment to the customer, and then, well, no, 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 no. We don't want to go with the cost because we're doing based on the sell price. We could say a percentage of the sell price that is charged. So if you've got 10 units sold, one is shipped, That one unit costs $118, so we have that cost baked in. Then do we say add, some freight or add, because that's going to be separate. We have freight, um, I guess postage, etc. Percent of sales requiring shipment, and then like percentage percentage of price, percentage of revenue for shipping fees. And that's only if you are taking on some of the costs as the shipper to the customer. If they pay that all, then this is just zeroed out, and that's fine. Doesn't matter if you ship 30 bikes in a month and to customers, and there's any cost related to you, you can figure it out with these two percentages. So like 10% of what you sell is shipped. Of that, X% of the sell price is a cost to you based on postage or whatever. We'll say this is a percentage of revenue that would be for postage or any cost the bike shop must bear to ship these items to the customer. It might be zero, it might be baked into this, but it's just there if you need it. And then on the other side of it, for buying things, we'll just do a freight cost to buy batches of bikes, which will just be a fixed cost multiplied by the number of times or number of purchase events, which might be once every couple months or once a month or whatever. All right, I think I'm frickin' done for today. We are done. This is a great start. I mean, so next up I'll do all the cost logic, which will not take that long. Integrate it into the P&L. I'll get down to EBITDA. We'll add some other things like funding sources, debt amortization if you're going to finance anything through debt. Uh, then we'll do the executive summary distribution, all that visualizations. I might honestly be able to finish it next week. Possibly. If not, it'll be the week after just to do touch-ups. But great start here, and I'm excited to finish this and also move on to the vending machine model after this is done. So, all right, I will check you later. Don't forget to check out smarthelping.com.